Richard, thanks for joining me. Now, some very encouraging news out recently from Toro. Let's go back to early March when you reported significant improvements to the economics for the Wiluna Uranium Vanadium deposits in WA. Are you able to walk us through the key drivers behind expanding the stated resources at Wiluna?
Thanks, Alex. With respect to our resource position, we have quoted our resources at a 200 ppm cutoff on U308. However, given the enduring and strengthening uranium market and the fact that our peers have also decided to do so, we're starting to report our resources at a 100 ppm cutoff, which is great news because it means that the feasibility of our project will be enhanced if we can get more of those resources into the mining model.
Thanks, Richard. So in terms of global comparisons with your industry peers, what impact do these latest economic improvements have when we line up Toro against other uranium players?
I think with what we're trying to demonstrate with Toro is that while we're waiting for the policy settings here to align for uranium mining, we at Toro have plenty of work to do and plenty of work, more importantly, to deliver in a strengthening uranium market that will show that our project is more valuable the more we examine and evaluate it from both a resource and mining perspective. The cost reduction work that was led and driven by our R&D activities over the last 7 years is really starting to monetize now as we make these releases when we finish our work streams. And it just shows that we have a lot more optionality and leverage to the uranium price than perhaps some of our peers do. Our projects are in Western Australia and we have NPVs that have been cut at $70 per pound US per U308 pound. If we re-examine that number and we come up with an NPV at a higher price that is now justified, you'll find that our NPV is not only comparable, but in some cases exceeds some projects around the world that trade at up to 8 to 10 times our market capitalisation. So there is plenty of upside at Toro and Wiluna. We are still working on the best version of that project. Which version of Wiluna are we going to put into production? That's still to be decided. And there's going to be some excellent news flow that comes up this year as we continue to make that decision.
Thanks, Richard. So you've also recently reported that sonic core drilling will commence shortly with the aim to deliver potential ore to the pilot plant currently in design for Wiluna. Can you provide some context around why this pilot program is such a crucial pillar for Toro moving forward?
Yes. So in the last 7 years, the research and development activities that I referred to were done at bench scale in a lab. With this pilot plant, we're going to examine our revised metallurgical processing flow sheet at a pilot plant level and therefore demonstrate a higher level of confidence, and therefore we can move to a higher level of feasibility study as we develop Wiluna. It's important to note that this is a key pillar of our feasibility, which we intend to do as much work around feasibility adjacent to government policy. And once we get the go-ahead, we want to launch into mining Wiluna as soon as possible.
Thanks, Richard. And just finally, it seems the uranium landscape continues to evolve rapidly as the global decarbonisation push intensifies, with Wiluna appearing to be extremely well positioned to supply this critical resource over the coming years. What do you believe will be the significant catalysts for Toro over the next 6 to 12 months?
Yes, so we are going to republish our Lake Maitland only deposit scoping study using more contemporary and more relevant pricing and exchange rates and costings. And we think that we'll be able to show a very significant transformational increase in the already big number that Lake Maitland gives us, being $610 million of NPV Australian before tax. The other work stream that we're doing is at a Lake Maitland operation where we have the processing plant, what is the economic result of perhaps trucking some materials down from the nearby Centipede, Millipede and Lake Way deposits down to a Lake Maitland processing operation and see how much more NPV that adds to Lake Maitland. And then, the best version of Wiluna is yet to come. And part of that evaluation includes whether we mine Lake Maitland standalone or we have a broader Wiluna Uranium Project feeding materials into a Lake Maitland processing operation. The pilot plant is also excellent because it will give us a high level of confidence, and we may be able to demonstrate further optimizations and further cost improvements at Wiluna. And of course, when we're doing all this, there are other inherent optimizations that we think will become apparent as we continue in the search to develop Wiluna and work out how we develop it at the most optimal economic recovery. If Lake Maitland has a stunning all-in sustaining cost of a globally competitive all-in sustaining cost of $28 US per pound U3O8, that gives us great confidence that we can achieve some really great things with Wiluna going forward.
Thanks, Richard. Appreciate you taking the time, and all the best.
Thank you, Alex.